Emrakul. Oh, you can't target Emrakul. Okay, well, what would you target?
I would target, apparently, Phyrexian Obliterator and Death Shadow. So with a Plunge into Darkness and Death Shadow, you can actually set up some combo kills here. He's going to be playing against Wijaya, who is a grinder from the LA area. He's for those of you who are familiar with some other trading card games for Versus System back in the day, he's basically the Kai of that game. Won like 3 or 4 or some odd Pro Tours, and but Magic-wise, he's a grinder, and he's won some PTQs and played on the PT a couple times. He's playing Stoneblade, so this will be stock good deck, stock good opponent versus.
Very interesting deck.
Yes.
Perfect example of one of the reasons I love Legacy, that you can basically build anything as long as it's rational, or at least semi-rational.
As long as it's internally cohesive. So, just the deck list real quick here. We have the creature base is 4 Death Shadows, 2 Streak Wraiths, which are technically creatures, but not really, 4 Phyrexian Obliterators, and 2 Dark Confidants. That's it. The spells are 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Duress, 4 Berserk, 4 Dark Ritual, 4 Plunge into Darkness, 2 Spoils of the Vault, 3 Limb Duel's Vault, 2 Chromox, 4 Lotus Petal, a Surgical Extraction, and a Maelstrom Pulse. So this is basically a combo deck masquerading as a beatdown deck.
Right, and one of the things that's interesting is the singletons that it runs in this deck, it actually can it can reasonably find, at the cost of a lot of life, the vaults, the plunges, the search in this deck. There are 9 search cards in the deck, so those singletons can do something. If he thinks that there's a single card on the table that's going to stop him, Maelstrom Pulse will take care of it. Yep. I'm curious about why he has a single surgical extraction. Maybe he's planning and kind of playing it as similar to a Cabal Therapy. I already know your hand from a Duress and a Thoughtseize, and maybe I can just get you. Or maybe he actually has a particular graveyard card that he's afraid of for whatever reason. We're going to see the opening of these games.
Well, his deck is a bit... There's a lot of decks whose only relevant disruption is probably going to be Swords to Plowshares. So being able to strip that out of the deck if you hit it with a target, or if they've already used one, could be valuable.
Thoughtseize.
So he's going to lead with a cycled Street Wraith and Bayou into Thoughtseize.
18, 16, so now he's down to 16 life to 20. And the Thoughtseize he's thinking about. There are Force of Wills in his opponent's deck. And there is one. Force of Will, Brainstorm. It's my favorite Brainstorm. And there was a Stoneforge in there too.
Yeah, so he's going to get the Force of Will.
Depending on the hand, I might have liked taking a Brainstorm there. I mean, depending on Brad's hand.
Yeah, I think, I think Brad's deck is pretty close to a combo deck. So I think he's just going to err on the side of taking away some of VD's lone ways of interacting with them rather than the selection tools.
Well, I totally agree with that, but I'm just thinking depending on his hand. If his hand is not the super aggressive build draw, Obliterator on turn 2. Obliterator. Don't fight me. Sadly, there is no, I guess it would be Aaron Forsyth technology in this deck. You will find no Prey-Upons here.
Yeah. So, VD's going to fire off the Brainstorm. Normally this is a little early to be firing this off, but I think he realizes that he's under the gun here. He has a second Brainstorm to set up a better selection turn somewhere down the line off of a fetch land, but for now he needs to find... I think he's aware that he needs to find a plow pretty fast.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things to remember is, yes, it is true that Brainstorm was not optimally cast, but sometimes you don't have time to play optimally, and you just have to be efficient quickly.
Yeah, he can't waste mana when the game might only be 3 or 4 turns long. So Stoneforge for Batterskull, everyone's favorite / least favorite play.
Batterskull was a card that it didn't completely offend me when it was printed, but it got close.
I think in the absence of Stoneforge Mystic, the power level is reasonable. It's still clearly good enough for constructed level play. It still shows up in people's sideboards.
Right. But when do we go absence of context? That's the part.
True. Yes. I think it's as a card in standard now, it is fine.
Totally fine now.
Totally fine.
Yeah. And he draws.
He is a slightly cheaper, slightly worse Worm Coil engine.
It's possible that Vidi might be dead right now.
Yeah, he can definitely 2 Berserks and that is. So does he have the tools to find it?
Comes on in. He says, "I'll take it."
All right.
He just says take 5. Look at that. He has a life counter. You can see over on the side there. It's the twisty life counters. Lotus Petal. City of Brass. Is there going to be a second Obliterator? That'd be sweet.
I think he has a duress in his hand. Now would be a good time to duress.
Goodbye equipment. Brainstorm, Caracas, Polluted, and Batterskull. Do the reads on the Batterskull. Brad plays... So
now the question is basically, can he beat Batterskull versus what is the selection of Brainstorm worth for him? Like, allowing BD to have more shots at Swords to Plowshares from here is a little dangerous, but
right.
The Batterskull could potentially just race. So,
and one of the crazy things about Obliterator is that Obliterator really does not care about Batterskull. I mean, if he wants to, Brad can just sit back, and if Vidi wants to come in with a Batterskull, Brad can be like, "That's cool, I'll block."
Right.
4 damage to my my Obliterator here. Enjoy.
All right. It appears we're plunging.
Plunge does cost 2 mana. So there are a couple different possible modes. He's going to be paying X life to essentially impulse for X cards. So he named some number. He has to name it before he starts looking. He's looking for some great card. I don't know how much he paid. As soon as we get a word from the judge, we'll find out. He paid 13 to go down to 3 life. Wow, this takes me back to Rome. He's just gone to 2. What's he got here? Oh, Death Shadow. Death Shadow at 2 life.
Oh.
Okay.
So the other shoe drops.
You can't hear our people off camera or who aren't next to us, but there's a lot of laughter going on over here. We have 11-11 trample and 5-5 trample. That's 16 trample he's presenting. I think another value of the surgical extraction is if you're playing against a deck that's slightly unknown, you can find out if they've got a bolt in their deck. Yeah. You know, it's a marginal utility, but I mean, there's another small. The thing that's exciting about this Death Shadow is if Brad wants, he can increase the size of the Death Shadow by 1 next turn by simply tapping his City of Brass. Yep. Okay. Turn 2 Obliterator. Turn 3 Death's Shadow. As All Suns Dawn says on Twitter, this match is absurd. Love this format. I'm right there with you. Oh, what do we got here? Sneaky, sneaky.
I don't think Death Shadow actually tramples. I think it's just --.
Oh, you're right. It does not trample.
So this attack might have actually just...
Brad Strickman might have just lost. You're right. It does not trample. I just want it to trample.
Right. Yeah, he just drew a Chromox, so... I think if he ships just the Death Shadow, that...
Yeah, if he had not shipped the Obliterator, I think he would be in just fine shape.
Yeah.
And now the Vigilant creature has no reason not to attack. Death. Oh, Brad. Oh, Brad. So sad. Oh.
That's fine. Shake it off. There's 2 more.
That's right. That's right. Cards to bring in, perhaps. I wouldn't be upset with Pithing Needle.
Yeah. His sideboard is 4 Pithing Needle, 4 Leyline of the Void, 4 Vendetta, a Surgical Extraction, a Cranial Extraction, and a Perish. So...
A Vendetta can't kill a Germ, but it can kill a Stoneforge.
Yeah, I think I like Pithing Needle because it's not like you're worried about the body. You're just worried about the equipment functionality, and Python Needle can also get equipment that's already in play. So
Meanwhile, Vidi, what's he got?
he has 2 Path to Exile, excellent. He has 2 Wrath of Gods, potentially good.
That's solid, yeah.
He has some Flusterstorms, a Purify the Graves, Surgical Extractions, Crucible, and a Jit.
Okay, cards I like there. I like Path, I like Wrath, and I think if he has room, there might not be better cards. Surgical is reasonable, just to like put the nails in the coffin after because you're dealing with a combo deck essentially. But I only put in Surgical if I've got cards that are more dead weight.
Yeah, I mean his main deck's pretty tight. He's got 3 Spell Snares, which are not great. I mean, they don't actually counter anything that he's seen. They do counter Limdol's Vault and
Plunge.
Sorry, Plunge rather. So, but pretty marginal. His equipment is a Batter Skull and a Sword of Feast and Famine, and Feast and Famine's potentially quite good because it just locks out an attacker. So I would be surprised if either pieces of equipment got cut in favor of the Jit.
Cards I don't like are the Spell Snares and the One Geist. I don't think the game's going to be about him attacking with a Geist. I think it's going to be... I mean, when it comes to that instant attacker, he's got Snapcaster, he's got Vendilion Click. Yeah. So he doesn't need to have like some resilient attacker. Brad will drop himself down in life naturally, so you just want to be able to control the board. You're not going to need to attack with some random guy. So even if it is an incredibly good random guy. That's 4 cards. 4 cards easily, 2 Path, 2 Wrath.
Yes.
And then after that, do you just leave it alone?
Yeah, I'm probably not bringing anything else.
So,
I'm surprised Brad doesn't give himself the option of siding into up to 4 Confidants. It seems in some matchups that would be
really
awesome,
excellent.
Just
yeah.
Awesome.
So, from the internets, Candy Hair says that a vendetta can't kill a germ. Just loves the sound of that phrase.
Yeah.
Now, I am definitely really rooting for Brad this game. I want to see this Death Shadow deck play as often as possible. And he's currently 2-0, as is Vidi. And I don't remember what he beat last round, but the stories of Brad's deck...
No, they're 1-1.
Oh, they are 1-1? That's very sad. Well, the stories of Brad's last victory have been spreading around the room, so perhaps...
Yeah, he beat a blue-white Stoneblade.
Yeah, apparently he already beat this deck, blue-white Stoneblade. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle.
This deck is sweet. This is real. I know I've been saying this is real sweet. Yeah, so basically blue appears to only be in the deck for Limdol's Vault.
I've been actually really having a, what do I want to call it, an unrequited love affair with Phyrexian Obliterator since it was printed.
Yeah.
I keep making decks with Obliterator in it, and then never actually having that deck amount to anything.
Listen, it's a time-honored tradition, starting with Juzan Dijin, Burning Demon, Phyrexian Scuda. It's like getting these cards to work is a time-honored tradition for a lot of spiky tournament players. Phyrexian Obliterator is obviously the best of the bunch, assuming you can cast it, but quadruple black is
hard.
Sort of limits the other pieces you're able to surround the card with.
It's hard, and I mean, like, it's easier in older formats, but then in older formats, the Obliterator starts being answered by swords.
Speaking of which, I am really disappointed that Brad could not find room for a Juzan Dijin in this deck. Like, if there's any deck in Legacy that could justify playing with that guy, it's right here.
I wonder
good with Berserk, good with plays well with Death Shadow. I mean, the art's sweet.
Brad here. Is that a Maul?
Yeah, it's a
Looks like a Maul.
For both, it looks like both players are mulliganing.
I mean, both of these players have good reason to mulligan. Brad's deck has a lot of cobbled together pieces.
Yes.
And
I can easily believe this deck gets bad draws. So, yes.
I can't even conceive of what a bad draw with this deck would look like.
Yeah.
Everything would be excellent.
Yep.
And Vidi's deck, on the other hand, has a very robust potential set of draws, but he pretty much wants to have a hand with a swords or a path.
Right.
Any hand that doesn't have a swords or a path, it's
big
reasonable
question
to throw
mark, yeah.
away.
I mean, his curve last game was Brainstorm into Stoneforge into Batterskull, and he very nearly died.
Yeah.
So that being his curve.
I mean, he could have lost it if Brad had not been as aggressive as he was.
Yeah. I mean, it's not quite that simple, because if he only attacks with the Death Shadow on the last turn, VD isn't actually compelled to chump block yet.
Right,
Like, he
of
still
course.
has another turn, so there's, at that point he has a bunch of potential draws, but
I mean, the 13/13 is just so huge.
right with the Obliterator back on D.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm joined in the booth by Patrick Sullivan.
Hello, hello.
And we are here watching the Legacy Open here in Los Angeles. Brad Strickman on the left playing a Death Shadow Berserk combo deck. And people out here in LA seem to just call him Vidi. We've got Vidianto Wijaya playing Stoneblade.
One of Brad's friends came up to me in between rounds and said he's been playing this deck some amount at local tournaments and such, and he found out that you can't actually have two Death Shadows. Like, he had two Death Shadows in play, and one got plowed, so the other one dies. He was like, don't put the second one into play against the plow decks.
Okay. Plunge into Darkness.
Did he ritual off his pedal?
I believe so. The graveyard order there is a little off. For those of you who are strict graveyard people in Legacy, I certainly am one. We should see that pedal in the yard, then the Dark Ritual.
So does he have a Death Shadow in his hand?
I'm not sure.
Because if he has a Death Shadow in his hand, he can actually just pay down to 1 or whatever.
Safely.
Hopefully draw another one. Then he can go sack my. He's going down to 3. He can actually. Looks like he's grabbing Berserk. Like, he can just go all in here, and if VD doesn't have a plow or a force, he just dies.
Yeah, it can be a turn 2 kill.
Right.
And there's a Death Shadow. I see it. Death Shadow currently a 10/10. I've definitely lost to Death Shadow testing Modern on Magic Online.
VD does not have a plow or
He's
force
got
will.
I thought I saw a Force of Will. Did you?
No,
Are
he
you
has
sure?
brainstorms. I'm pretty sure those are brainstorms. He has 2 brainstorms.
Oh, that is a Brainstorm.
So he might actually just die now.
Go. Thought Seize. Is there a swamp? Is there a dark?
No, he's
Boink.
no messing around. No messing around. He's gonna have to,
let's see if it works.
We got a brainstorm here.
Now let's pretend that he finds a Force of Will. Well, so he doesn't die. But he
he's
will
just-
die next turn unless he
Yeah.
lays a Mystic.
Yeah, so his Mystic has to chump block. Now we can see why VD would want a mulligan hands that don't have plows and paths.
Right.
This got real fast.
Berserk.
This got real.
Brainstorm. What's he find? Now don't crane your neck over to the side trying to look at the flat screen and see if you find the
That
Force of
ain't
Will.
it. That ain't it.
GG.
There's a plow in his hand, but that's too slow.
Puts the Brainstorm in the yard. He's still got to put 2 cards back, but don't worry, folks. He's just going to pack him up, pack him in.
Yeah.
What about my berserked creature, says Brad.
Oh! Alright, game 3.
Oh my goodness. Look at Vidi. Brad's smiling. Vidi's like,
Gotta shake it.
huh. Okay, back to the sideboard. He smiles. He smiles.
Cannot help but smile at that.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That is real. What just happened really happened. This is
Yeah.
this is not a movie. You aren't being punked. That actually just happened.
Oh man. You know, like I've seen crazy stuff happen in Magic.
Format of Kings. It's the format of Kings. Men's game, baby. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people die with force of nature attacking them and it having lifelink on it, and they're like, not pay. And but this this is one of these really good ones. Oh man. Vidi with a very contemplative look, his neck crooked to the side, thinking. Definitely, that's the thinker pose right there. Okay, shaking it off. Back to the deck, sideboarding here.
I think the most confusing, if I was in Vidi's position, the thing I would be struggling with the most is what to do about Wrath of God. Because in theory, like, it can be valuable. He's pretty threat light, and, you know, if you can survive the first wave, then it can have value there. But Wrath of God's also quite slow. So I would...
It is.
If I was in his position, I would be struggling about whether or not to bring that in.
What do you think of Flusterstorm as a possible counterspell?
I mean, I think it's legit on the play. Being on the play changes a lot of the, changes a lot of the dynamics of the game. So your counter spells and your basically the whole deck gets much better when you're doing that. So
one of the things I love about Limduel's Vault in Brad Strickman's deck is I kind of wonder if he selected it because of the pain. He was like, this is why I'm selecting it. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to vault, and I'm going to pay life a bunch of times, period.
Yes.
Just to be like,
yeah,
I don't even care.
It's a lot of angles. Obviously, it's a great search spell. Also, the life payment you're talking about matters too. So, like a lot of the other search cards in this deck, it's playing multiple roles.
I believe Limduel was actually one of the original villains in Magic.
Yes.
I don't remember anything about him, but if you out there know what Limduel's story was, or if you know, Patrick, I don't know what Limduel's story was.
No, I don't. I remember his Vault and his Paladin. Those are the two cards.
So if you pay 17 life to Limduel's Vault, you can actually really set up your library pretty well. Yep. It'll take you a while, though. I mean, like, that's 5 cards at a time rearranging your library. Yeah, that's 85 cards deep that you can go.
Right. Yeah, as long as your deck isn't actually set up into multiples of 5, you can actually get a better...
You can kind of quasi-arrange it in a really interesting way.
Better rotation.
God, now I'm kind of wondering why I didn't play Limduel's Vault in Rome. Jeez.
Yeah.
Like,
that is another card I think has... The amount of play it sees in Legacy is not commensurate to its power level. I think it is... If I had to come up with a list of top 10 underplayed cards, I think it would hit.
I think the last time it really saw much in the way of play was during Flash Hulk.
Yeah, it's seen play in various combo decks.
But in like a more common play was in that moment. Was there another moment in combo where like there was a combo deck that played it, like that was really common? I think Flash Hulk was the last time it was actually kind of common.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like Reanimator touch it from time to time. I've seen like Tide Splash Black for it from time to time. Like I've seen it pop up here and there, but not,
Standard winner box number 1. We have
I don't like the sound of it in High Tide. That doesn't excite me.
I'm saying where I've seen it.
I'm not saying that you're advocating it. I'm just wrinkling my nose at the thought of it in High Tide. If you are at home just kind of listening to us rather than watching us, I don't think this is a match to merely listen.
Yeah.
You should be watching this one right here. Like, the games will be probably over pretty quick, but what you get to see will be exciting.
Yeah.
There was a moment a while back, Gerard Fabiano just opened up a pack on air with Jace the Mind Sculptor inside. That was exciting. This was, I think, on that level of like, wow.
Right. This is like everyone gets to open up a pack with a Jace in it. This is a treat for everyone.
Okay, opening hands. And is Brad throwing it back again?
Well, I mean,
We've got to go to Vidi first, I suppose.
Yeah. Brad looks like he's keeping. He's giving him a
look
stare.
at that look. He's like giving them the...
Oh, no, it's going back.
I thought he was giving him like the little eye, like, hey, what's it looking like over there? The across-the-bar glance.
Yeah.
What you got? Anything good?
Yeah, you're giving him the this.
Vidi looks a little amused, nervous. Playing against decks like Brad is playing are the exact kinds of decks that both make me love Legacy and also give me the highest degree of nerves when I'm playing.
Oh, yeah.
Just not knowing what could happen.
Yeah, you also don't want to be a notch on this dude's belt, you know what I mean?
Right.
You're playing some conventional, known, stock, whatever deck, and him getting goes, yeah, I just blew up some, blue-white Stoneforge deck last round. Like, you don't want to be that guy, you know? Especially after the first two games. It's like, Vidi easily could have lost the first game and then just got clobbered in the second game.
Absolutely. Brad is, looks like a
I think he's
unhappy keep. Okay, look at that Tundra.
For Sam Meyer. Sam Meyer, if you're in the room, your skater
Bayou.
waiting for you. Also at this time, signups for our two-headed giant steel event are open.
Discard, perhaps? Spoils of the Vault.
Come over to the side events area, we'll get you playing.
All of these are often considered marginal tutors, but they still do the work. Spoils in some way considered the fixed demonic consultation. So, like demonic consultation, you name a card, and you reveal cards until you find that card. But until you hit it, you lose life for every card you miss with.
So he named Death Shadow and just took roughly 1 million. I think he just went to 1. I think that was 19 cards.
Yes. Lotus Petal. Crack. Shadow.
I think this is gonna draw a Force of Will.
I think it's gonna lose a spell snare to make this not happen. Brainstorm in response. That's not unreasonable. See if there's anything better to pitch.
Yep.
There's a Swords to Plowshares. So many answers.
Yeah, this one looks pretty good. Pretty good and a Snapcaster too. So.
Oh, wah wah wah. If you missed it, last game, I believe that was a turn 2 kill with Death's Shadow.
Yeah, he didn't play a land.
Yeah, didn't play a land. Turn 2 kill, Death's Shadow.
So, I think we're going to see turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic, turn 3 attack you with it and kill you. Actually, it's probably better to do it off a Snapcaster, but whatever. It's all the same. Yep. Unfortunately, now his City of Brasses and Fetch lands just kill him, so there's a chance that he has a second land drop and cannot make it.
I think he just said go.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be end of turn Snapcaster, attack you, and kill you.
Oh, that is so sad, though.
Yeah. Listen, if you're gonna pay 19 life, sometimes Ambush Viper is just gonna get it done. That's part of you knew this going into things.
He could vendetta this creature and kill himself.
Yeah. I'd rather go out like that than letting the Snapcaster touch me.
Oh, hell yeah. Surgical extraction on a card. He's just gonna take a look.
Yeah.
He's got some time. What you got?
Just wants to give him a touch before he exits stage left. Just wants to feel something, man. I don't blame him.
What you got in this here deck?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good card.
Yeah.
So far, we can see
Oh,
that.
Stone Portrait Battery Skull. That's really creative.
So
That's
far,
a really interesting idea for a deck. Where'd you get it from?
You can see right now that.
Yeah, shuffle his cards too. Give him a good riffle. Yeah, Brad. Yeah, all right. That's the way to do it.
Here you go. Want to cut, says Vidi? Yeah. I want to cut someone. There we go.
Ah! Final shuffle.
He's like, hey, Judge, I think you drew too many cards. No, this is at the end of your turn. What? No way. There we go. Oh, sad day.
Well, that made my day, and that was the first round we covered.
One of the things we often say here at the Star City Games Open Series for Legacy is that this is going to be one of the most diverse metagames that you'll ever see, one of the most diverse fields you'll ever see watching Legacy play. And generally, every tournament that I go to, I usually see a deck I've never seen play before.
Yeah.
But then besides that, it's just they're